Hi there, Cancer. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your July 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Cancer water signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I do find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Cancer signs. So it may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Cancer, let's jump in. I always like to tune into the energies first, Cancer, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I always like to see what the universe shows me for you. There's something about boundaries this month, I feel, for many of you. Setting boundaries, but also learning to maintain healthy boundaries. Because I do feel like there is a tendency sometimes to allow those boundaries to collapse. And there is something around sacrificing yourself in some way for others, and there'll be something deep down that, maybe you're on some level hoping to, still get from that situation or that person, but it's coming at a cost. And I see the word happiness. The cost is your happiness. With your overall energies, we have the Three of Pentacles. I often think of this as a networking card, and it does feel a little bit like it's a month where, in terms of career or life goals, there is an energy of expansion this month for you. But it's also going to involve, I feel, you really looking after yourself this month, showing up differently. And that's where, the focus comes around, not sacrificing things in yourself or things in your life for others. This is a time to, I feel, really look after your needs and your dreams, your goals in life. The Three of Pentacles is all about sharing with others, towards a common goal, but that involves you showing up, sharing, your unique gifts and knowledge and experience. And so, of course, that involves not being afraid to be seen. What lies in your recent past, the Ace of Wands. Your current energies is the Five of Swords. I was feeling that conflict. That was what was just beginning to come through, which was why I was kind of pausing a little bit there. I was feeling some kind of conflict. Your feelings towards your situation, the Four of Swords. So there may be somebody that there has been conflict with. Now, in a love reading, what I'm feeling here when I look at the Three of Pentacles is a third-party situation. So, in career, this is all about, collaboration, sharing with others. And in a love reading, this represents usually third parties. Now, a third party can be another romantic connection. It can also be a family member. It can be someone that is, very focused on career. Can also represent, working together as a team towards a common goal. But I see this Ace of Wands in your recent past. And this is fire energy. And this usually represents an energy of somebody, following their desires. It's fire, it's passion, it's, very much sexual energy in a love reading. And we have the Five of Swords here, which is all about conflict, arguments, and, perhaps things that may have been said in the heat of the moment. Some of you may be dealing with someone who perhaps has been, entertaining other possibilities, keeping options open, as well as being in something with you. And whatever conflict has kind of gone down between the two of you, you're feeling like you need to kind of take a little bit of a step back from this, because I do feel a lot of emotional energy going on here. This energy of kind of sacrificing your own happiness in the hopes of, somebody stepping up, being a better person for you, of, in the hopes of something changing here. And it may not necessarily be, there has been actual physical cheating, but I do see the energy of somebody who might be a bit of a flirt. Like they might be, chatting with people online. I see somebody on their phone, kind of, multiple different kind of conversations, or somebody that just enjoys that attention. And doing that while they are in a connection with you. And for many of you, that's an actual relationship that you're in, but it feels a little bit to me like this person is kind of presenting themselves as being, more single, when actually they are in a relationship with you. And of course, that's leaving you feeling like you're not being honored and respected, you're not having your needs met. And I get the sense of you kind of standing up and saying something about that, putting a boundary there. But I feel like this has come up before. And things have been said before. I feel like this is someone that you may have had a lot of kind of stops and starts with somehow. And you put those boundaries in place by, having a conversation and letting this person that you're dealing with know, what you will accept and what you won't accept. This might be someone with a little bit of, this isn't going to resonate for all of you, but this might be someone who I feel finds it hard to be in a committed relationship. This might be somebody with a little bit of an addiction, because I'm feeling some toxic energies here, and that might involve kind of being on these kind of chat platforms, or just, chatting with people online, like sex chatting, something like that. Or just, really enjoying this attention. It's almost like an ego boost. But it's also feeling like this is somebody that's keeping options open, rather than somebody who feels like they are mature enough, ready enough for a deeper connection, a committed relationship, and the kind of work that really requires, the emotional maturity. And I do feel like you stood your ground, and I do feel like you've voiced, for some of you, this might just be suspicions, intuition that you're feeling, that there's something kind of going on there behind the scenes. And I feel like you're also dealing with someone with a tendency to gaslight here, and may have got you questioning your own feelings here. So I do feel it's important to really recognize, what is going on in this situation here. It's quite easy to, fall for that sometimes when somebody is gaslighting, they're invalidating your feelings. And of course, your feelings are always valid. Your perspective is always valid, just as anybody else's is. But I feel like you're dealing with someone who is almost putting it across, that you're being too much in some way. And in doing so, kind of invalidating your feelings. So I feel like there is, a caution here around, making sure you're seeing clearly, what is happening in this situation and what is it that's kind of still keeping you there. And it may be that deep down, there may be some subconscious beliefs here around not really feeling worthy of having happiness and love and being loved. So whatever this is, there's some lessons wrapped up in it. It feels a little bit like a trauma bond of some kind. And, this really is to take a step back right now and really take some time out from this situation. This just allows you to kind of come back to your own energy a little bit. And in this stillness, it also allows you to get in touch with your true feelings. It's also a card of healing. So you're doing the right thing in, just taking a healthy step back, detaching a little bit from this situation, and just really allowing yourself, I feel, to really listen to what your heart's saying, because your heart always knows the truth. What is keeping you there? What is the challenge? So the challenge is the Ten of Swords. I feel the challenge is around perhaps facing the reality of the way that you are perhaps feeling betrayed by this person. So this is all about betrayal. It's about challenging, difficult, painful endings. It's often an energy of feeling like you've been stabbed in the back, blindsided, an ending that, or a betrayal that you didn't see coming. But what I'm feeling here is I do feel like your intuition has been trying to tell you for quite some time that there's something about this connection that is not feeling healthy. You haven't been feeling happy. You haven't been feeling, honored, respected. And, it feels very kind of one-sided, like you have been showing up, what's been on the table is real love. And it's almost like they've done enough to kind of keep you there, but really it's just breadcrumbs, while they have been, still kind of maintaining, I feel, a little bit of a different image of themselves, separately from the connection here. And I do feel deep down inside, there's a part of you that has known. Your intuition is one of your greatest tools. It's just sometimes we don't want to listen to it. We don't want to perhaps acknowledge, what it's telling us, because then that, of course, means facing perhaps some sadness, or it tends to bring up the things that we need to heal. So the challenge is, I feel, facing the difficult emotions of, what this would bring up if you chose to actually, end things and move on here. So that's going to be an energy of betrayal, of not feeling chosen. It's going to bring up feelings of, that unworthiness that I mentioned, not feeling happy, not feeling really deserving to be happy and to be loved. And that will all go back most likely into your childhood. And this is why I feel like there's some soul lessons that are wrapped up in this. And to me, when I look at that card, the dawn is rising in the background there, which is always the seed of a new beginning after an ending. But to me, when I look at that card, I feel like that dawn rising is ultimately going to be the blessings of this situation, which are, the learning of those soul lessons so that you can move forward more whole and more complete. And ultimately, in a new version of yourself, a better version of yourself, which ultimately is going to draw in the love that you're really looking for. So in a sense, this person that you're dealing with and what has gone on here and what the invitation is for you to really learn and embody here is actually leading you to what you really want. And that's the blessing of this situation, I feel. Because I do feel the time has come to, stop sacrificing, whatever that is for you in the hopes of love or being loved. This is about you no longer betraying, your needs and what you truly deserve, no longer betraying yourself in that way. That's the mirror. Other people are always our mirror. And, whether this is in love, whether this is in career, it's all about looking after yourself and your needs and really choosing yourself moving forwards, because there is this energy of expansion, where there is a big invitation for something here to move to the next level. And for some of you, that's going to be your own personal journey, your self-development. Some of you, that's going to be career related. But something is, I feel about to get an upgrade here. So this is kind of a bit like a glow up, let's say. And that's the blessing. That's the blessing that I see from this situation. This is something for you to, I feel, really learn from, rather than somebody, that is meant to stay. So for some of you, this may have been a job that didn't work out. And it's kind of led you to this point where actually there's a change of direction. And this Three of Pentacles is connecting you, much more into life purpose and perhaps doing what you are really meant to be doing. But that also involves, taking a leap and getting yourself out there, not being afraid to be seen, not being afraid to be in the spotlight. The hidden influence is the Sun, which is a card of clarity. And, this is when, things that have been unclear are really illuminated. And it can often be, truths being illuminated, which is, what I'm seeing happening right now. It's something which, can't remain hidden for any longer, because there is an invitation for a shift for you. And this is all about approaching, this next phase with, an open heart. This is an energy of potential. And, it's a very, very potent energy of creation. So this is the energy of expansion that I'm seeing for you. The energies of the Sun, and it's about happiness, success. And this is where, whatever is going on now ultimately is redirecting you to. So somehow it's about trusting what's unfolding. What's coming in for you is judgment, a moment of a life review. This is a call to accountability, where, it's always about, I feel, looking at, what is it in us that has attracted a certain situation or person. And it is an energy where you are absolutely being asked to question this situation. It's not about being under any illusions anymore, or staying attached to a dream or who or what, you hoped they would be. This is about, really questioning and seeing the truth of, what is really happening. Judgment is all about looking at, what is it time to let go of? What do you take with you moving forwards? Because it really is a card of learning from the past, taking that wisdom moving forward so that you don't go down the same roads again. Because to me, it feels like, this isn't something to really revisit anymore. This is usually an ending that, we don't really come back from. It's something that has come full circle. And to have a repeat of that, I feel very often just ends up in, let's say, more of the same. And it is time for a change. But of course, that change is going to come from inside of you first and foremost. With your advice from the universe, the Seven of Wands, this is often a guarded card, but in this case, I feel like this is a message around standing in your truth, staying true to what you really deserve and what, you know, what your true values are in life, what's most important to you in life. This is about standing in your power, even if it means letting something go, letting somebody go, moving on, even if it means perhaps, you know, facing some challenging emotions or old, you know, patterns inside of yourself. It's about finding the courage to do that and really standing in your truth. And what comes in your outcome is the Empress, some kind of brand new beginning for you. So I love that, you know, so whatever this relates to for you, you know, this is a seed of, you know, a whole new beginning, a whole new version of yourself. And again, like a card of, you know, rebirth and huge potential. And even though you might not see exactly where that's leading, you know, things will unfold. All you have to do is, you know, shift your energy, let go of what you no longer feel aligned with here, step into a new version of yourself, make that commitment to yourself, and just trust that, you know, this is leading you into a better place. And leading you into, I feel, experiencing, you know, much more fullness of who you truly are and your potential in life. So that's the Empress, you know, a moment of a rebirth for you. So Cancer, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.